Now to a deadly situation on the border between India and Bangladesh. The two countries are close allies, but one human rights group claims Indian border forces have killed hundreds of Bangladeshis along the border. Smuggling in both directions is a major problem, and Indian patrols say they only use force when under attack. But the recent deaths of two Bangladeshi children has brought renewed attention to an underreported problem. DW has been meeting border patrols and residents in the northwestern Bangladeshi region of Thakurgaon.
Bangladesh forces patrol the border with India, a friendly neighbor. Here at the Thakurgaon district in northwestern Bangladesh, the border guard or BJP say they are trying to prevent criminal activity. It's a busy region on both sides of the frontier. Indian forces on the other side publish pictures like these of alleged smugglers and their illicit goods. They say human trafficking is also rampant across the border. Bangladeshi commanders say they see local people getting into trouble on the border and urge their soldiers to try to prevent misunderstandings.
People are trying to cross the international boundary due to various reasons. They have relatives over there, and we are doing a lot of awareness program. But some of the times they're taking the opportunity and they're trying to cross the international boundary, and thereby some incident occurs. But we are hopeful from the BGB side that the way we are trying to motivate the people and the way we have increased the patrol activity, and also the way we are regularly meeting with the local community and religious leader, hopefully this will reduce and people will be aware and they will be more careful along the borderline.
But locals are dying. This is the home of Jayanta Kumar Singh. He was 14. He's the second child to be killed at the border in recent weeks. His family says Indian forces killed him when he was near the frontier. An Indian official told a local newspaper the boy was part of a group trying to cut through a barbed wire fence. Jayanta's uncle says when Jayanta's father went to try to collect the boy's body, he was shot too. The father survived but is still in hospital.
We are deeply saddened and shocked that Indian border forces shot us Hindus. When Jayanta's body was given to us, it was dismembered. His face could not be seen. It was ruined. There was a bullet in the neck. 2 days later, when the body was given to us at night, we could not clean it because the body was rotten.
Locals say religious and family ties stretch across the border, meaning innocent crossings will continue.
51% of the local Hindu community lives in my constituency, and all of them have relatives in India. Such extrajudicial killings should not happen again. The Hindu community here cannot accept it and has condemned it. The Indian border forces fired Ajanta. If he committed a crime, there should be a punishment. But should he be shot dead?
The Deputy Inspector General of the Indian Border Forces, BSF, for South Bengal sent TW a statement. He said both sides were working on strengthening mutual trust and that his officers refrained from using force. But people here see their neighbors and even children being killed when they stray too close to the border, whether to innocently cross over or make trouble. Rare investigations hardly ever lead to prosecutions, leaving families like Jayanta's unclear they'll ever see justice.
Well, for more on this, we can now talk to Meenakshi Ganguly, Deputy Asia Director of Human Rights Watch's Asia Division. Thanks for being with us. Now, we just heard about the deadly incidents at that border. Human Rights Watch has been reporting on these killings for years. Why are India and Bangladesh unable to put a stop to these killings?
We had talked to the Home Ministry at that time, and we had pointed out that this is a friendly border. These are friendly neighbors. There is no national security risk. These are people that are going, as we heard in the report earlier, often to visit family members, because after all, it is an artificial border that was created in 1947. There are people that still have relatives on either side. To be using this kind of live ammunition and lethal force to target people who might be crossing the border is completely unnecessary. We were promised at that time that there would be an end to this kind of use of force, and yet we find that these abuses are continuing.
Now, Bangladesh's Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina fled to India recently after mass protests against their government. Has that increased tensions at the border?
It's certainly the fact that the Indian government had backed Sheikh Hasina, who was becoming increasingly unpopular because of her repression, is something that the Bangladeshis still feel bad about. And especially because Sheikh Hasina is now in India, and India has not yet said or criticized the abuses that occurred in the final weeks of Sheikh Hasina's governance, when almost 1,000 protesters were shot. So there is tension in Bangladesh about India's role, but more than that, because some of the minority Hindu community do back the Awami League, which is the Sheikh Hasina's party, there were some reprisal attacks as well, which had led to some fear, fueled in fact by misinformation from Hindu right-wing groups based in India, and spread of messages and images that were not even true. But it created a bit of panic, and some Hindus from Bangladesh tried to cross as well, and they were stopped. Now, all of this has now calmed down, and there is really no need for India to be continuing to allow its border guards to use this kind of force. The one welcome thing that we have found is that the new interim government, which took office after Sheikh Hasina resigned, has raised concerns with the Indian government. We think this is important, and that the Indian authorities respond immediately by ordering the border guards to step down, to act with restraint, to stop any kind of illegal activities, and most importantly, to hold to account those that are responsible for human rights violations. As I had mentioned earlier, and in the decades that we have documented these cases, there have been several cases where it was quite clear that the BSF soldier, the Border Security Force, that is the Indian Border Guard Force, had used indiscriminate force. They had used lethal violence when they were not at risk, and they were still not prosecuted.
Meenakshi, Ganguly, thank you very much for talking with us today.
Thank you.